What's up, all you motorcycle enthusiasts, and welcome to the V-Twin Life here on YouTube. We talk motorcycles powered by those V-Twins, what fuels our passion, why we enjoy it so much. V-Twin Life is brought to you by these two great companies, Crash Inc. Clothing and Wild Ass Seats. Hey, you want to add some comfort to your ass when you're out riding, whether you're a 400-mile guy or maybe a guy that's pushing 1,000 plus, or female rider for that matter? Hey, check out wild-ass.com and add some comfort to your ass. Can't forget Crash Inc. Clothing, that Northwest brand out of the Pacific Northwest. Hey, these guys got a lot of great stuff, from t-shirts to hats, raincoats, you name it. Hey, they can get you covered. Check out crashinclothing.com. Now, let's dive into another milepost of the V-Twin Life. What is up, everybody, and welcome to milepost 62 of the V-Twin Life. Tonight we got the great Whit Meza. You know, a lot of us think that we do a lot of miles, we ride a lot, and then you can read Whit Meza's social media and she will put you to shame. A lot of us. Hey, it's true. I mean, I thought I would do good, and then it's like you read something, it's like, holy cow, I got nothing.
But I still don't feel like I have nothing compared to a couple, like there's a handful of people that I just look up to that ride insane miles. So I got 2 years under my belt, maybe. That's it. So
true. We also got to give a big shout out to Route 32 Riding Gear New Hope. He's one of the newest sponsors of the I can't even talk. The V-Twin Life. There we go. I'm a little tongue-tied myself tonight. It's been a long weekend, but a good weekend. Great weather. So, guys, you can check it out down in the description. I have put my affiliate link. He's got a lot of great stuff. So, hey, feel free to check it out. Use that link. Support a small business and also help support the V-Twin Life. So let's dive into this. So when did you find motorcycles, Whit?
I think probably about a year after my husband and I got married. So about 11 years ago, I brought him into a dealership one day and said, let's just look. Just want to take a peek. And we ended up leaving the dealership with a bike, gear, whole 9 yards, and didn't have a motorcycle license to our names. So there's that. We jumped head first without thinking about it, but that was mainly my push. So probably about 11 years ago, but we had the bike for about a year and then was expecting our son, so we sold it to kind of go even on the loan. That was the end of that. And a good pause.
What was the first bike?
It was an 06 Softail Night Train in like black cherry color. It was all blacked out. It was low enough to the ground that my husband could ride it, but then I guess still small enough for me that I could feel a little bit comfortable on it. But the first turnaround in the parking lot when we got it home, I dropped it. And ever since then, my confidence just was minimal after that. But yeah, that's what we had for our first bike for about a year.
So did you get much riding in and enjoy that, and before it had to go bye-bye?
So we split it. So I would take it to work. He would take it to work. We would take it together on like date nights or to the movie theater, frozen yogurt, those type of things. But we never really adventured outside of the city that we were in, most likely. And then because of me being pregnant and the bike just sitting, we decided it's time to kind of part ways for that. But the minute it left our driveway, we instantly regretted it. And I think I really wanted something, but I kind of waited it out at least the next like 5 or 6 years before I decided to really truly jump back in.
So which one got you back into it? Did you have your sights set on a specific bike, or you just decide let's find what's in the budget?
Found there was I had a friend of mine, her husband was putting together bikes just for the heck of it, and so he had an old Honda that he was willing to kind of redo for me in like more of a cafe style. So there's a Denton Moto out in Texas that had the exact same bike that I was looking at up here instead. So I got a 1970s-ish Honda CB, I think it was a 400 twin, something like that. That was my introduction back into it, but it needed a lot of work. And it needed a lot of patience and time to put into it to do this stuff. So we decided not to go that route. Sold it to somebody in Chicago, and then I found an '03 Sportster, which is the one that's currently sitting in my garage. So the 100th anniversary edition 883 was
Nice.
probably my first official bike that is still living here for the next, it's been 4 years now. It was right before I found out I was pregnant with my daughter. So there's that. There's always these roadblocks.
There's a theme here.
There's a pattern going on.
I think the pattern is what we don't want you to get a new bike. That's what I'm
Yeah,
hearing.
officially done. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yes.
I love the
So-
colors they did on the 100th anniversary. The black
Mhm.
with the silver pinstriping.
Yep. That's pretty
always
much
liked
what
them.
sold me with that bike. There was a gentleman, a couple cities away. He had bought it and then had his son ride it, but his son was, I guess, too large, too tall for it, wasn't comfortable on it, and decided to sell it. And so I scooped it up, and now it's been mine for the last 3 years.
I had a friend that had an Ultra. It was the 100th anniversary, and he dinged up
Mhm.
one of his emblems. And call her, hey, I need to get, I need a new emblem. They're like, no, it's
Really?
you take it off, you send it back. It's 1-for-1 exchange. You can't buy
Oh.
new ones. You got to send them back. And they said that's the only way these ones go out. He's like, wow,
I had no
okay.
idea.
That's what he was
awesome.
told, and that was, that's been probably 15 years ago. But
Okay.
yeah, he found out when he was doing some work, and he foobarred one. He's like, well, crap. Okay,
No
he got a
way.
new one, but he just wasn't expecting to have to go through it that route.
Mhm. Well, I have the whole windshield has the emblem on it. I have an extra key that has the 100th anniversary edition, the cover for it. Like, he had everything that could probably go with that bike for sure with that. So yeah, that was
So-
my selling point, was pretty much getting that Harley and getting it within budget, because I needed to
Yeah.
find something that was, we didn't want to take out a loan on it. We learned our lesson the first go around. So this was my safe hang.
And they're fun. Especially if you can do it that way, you can find something that you don't have the debt for it. It's just
Mhm.
it's a nice feeling, I guess, in the end.
It is. That's the way we bought my husband's too. So he had, up until about 2 months ago, he actually sold his bike, but he had I think it was an '02 technically. It's Harley branded, but everything but the frame is Harley. So it's technically doesn't have an HD VIN. It was created by an old Harley dealership in the Madison area. It looks really cool. It's a fat boy. But yeah, he sold it this last couple months ago. And it's going more of the overland adventure style with his Trail Boss truck instead. So yeah.
That stuff's fun too.
Mm-hmm. But he had 18 or 20-inch apes, ape hangers on the
Oh,
bike.
sweet.
So I finally hit the first year he had it, I didn't want to ride it. I'll just ride my Sportster. But he pushed me about 2020 timeframe, right before he left to do military training. I got on his bike, and yeah, it was comfortable, but I don't think I could do long distance with that bike for sure. That was one that I'm like, no, this is just a ride around town, and that's it.
Yeah. So what got you into the long distance and wanting to get into the iron butt side, the IBA?
So over 2020 timeframe, they had a women's motorcycle conference, and I was introduced to Wendy Crockett. I'm not sure if anybody's familiar with her, but she won the 2019 Iron Butt Rally. So she was going over long distance endurance, what to pack, how to prepare for it. My mind was this is an option. I didn't even think that I thought it was racing or dirt bikes and just cruising. I didn't really realize there was a whole long distance endurance side of it. So that's what kind of piqued my interest. And once I dove into the Iron Butt website, I saw all of these quote unquote challenges or rides, and I lit up like a Christmas tree. I was like, I can do this, and I can do that, and I can go right out here. So it opened the floodgates for sure for me. And that's because pretty much of her, and I let her know that was the reason why. So
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So what was where was your first ride to? Your first Iron Butt? So I would assume you did the Iron Butt, the Bun Burner 1000.
Yep, I did it on the Sporty. So 883, I took around Lake Michigan. So I'm close to that I could do a full loop around Lake Michigan. So I started near the Appleton Oshkosh area, went all the way around, had to go all the way up to Munsing to add up a couple more miles to get to that 1,000. And that I did in pretty much June of 2020. That was my first Saddle Store 1000. I barely made it. I had a lot of fill ups with that peanut tank. It was like every 100 miles I was stopping for it.
That would be a challenge.
Get that.
Itself. Yeah.
But going over the Mackinac Bridge over in like one end of Michigan to the other end of Michigan, that was fantastic because right at sunset, it was so flipping cool. But then it got dark and very interesting with limited gas stations and all of that. But it was worth it. I loved it. And I was hooked since then.
Now, how many have you done total? Have you kept track of how many total like IBA rides?
Officially, I have the Saddle Sore from 2020. Then I did a Saddle Sore out from like here in Wisconsin out to Babes Ride Out in June, early June. And then I did the 48 and 10 at the end of June. And then this over January, I did the 50cc, so coast to coast in 50 hours or less. So officially, I have 4 logged on the books.
I love how you went to Babes Ride Out to get the mileage in, get your oils changed. I'm like, you're just not right in the head.
I had to get certain miles on the bike in order to hit the services that they needed to. So I was like, you know what? All right, let's just do a whole. So I kind of made a backtrack up to Michigan. Went to Hell, Michigan, because a lot of people like to go there. So I went to Hell just to see what it was about, and then I went to all the way out to New York by the end of the night.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was fun.
Now the 48 and 10, you actually ended up doing that 8 days, correct?
Yes. Yep. On the 2021 Pan America for Harley.
So what'd you think of that ride? I mean, we'll break that up in 2 sides, the ride and then. So what'd you think about the Pan American?
I loved it. I had no idea, like I didn't get a chance to ride the bike or any of that before. I pitched this pretty much to Harley as an option that I kind of left it up there. But the minute I jumped on, I was so instantly comfortable on the bike that I was like, yep, I can do this. This should be smooth sailing. So yeah, it fit me like a glove, which is awesome. Completely stock. There was nothing added to it. They added the hard panners and the tank bag, but other than that, they linked up my Garmin GPS and I was off. So.
Was that a special or is that the standard?
The special. Yep, it was a special.
Did you have the seat lowering or the suspension?
Yes. But the only time I stopped was gas stations. So I had it in the tall position the entire time. So every time that I would actually get to the stop, I realized I was like, oh, I'm a lot taller than I need to be. But I was tiptoeing it for that special.
How's the self-adjustment work? I don't know. I just put gas in it. I don't stop.
Well,
Stopping for the week.
When we did the 10K service, when I did my when I was through my route halfway through, they put it back in the low position and I was like 500 miles into the next day and I was like, I am not comfortable. Like something is completely different. And they put it in that position and I knew right away that it was not where it was needed to be. It needed to be in that taller one. So, yeah.
Now, it's one thing to do. I mean, a lot of people set out the 48 and 10 is a challenge in itself doing it 48, but when you do it in 8 days, that's flat out fucking impressive.
It was 8 days and like some odd hours, like almost officially 9, but not quite to that extent. So I averaged about a little over about 900 miles each day. And I wanted to give myself some breathing room just in case something did happen and I had to make up ground. I'd have that additional day to do that. Like I didn't want to kind of just cruise and see different things. Like I wanted to get done what I needed to do for hitting all 48 states. So.
And I think I remember last year, I remember reading Riot had did that for Mile Monsters, and it was like 8 days, 22 hours.
Yep.
I know he was so close, but he's like, like you, he had that goal. I want to do it 8. And I think he had some little minor mishap, and it came close to going 9 days, but it's like, holy cow, it's awesome feat to see, you set a goal. Okay, 10 days. Sure, a lot of people can do it. Well, I shouldn't say a lot, but there's a list of people that have done it. Now let me elevate myself, and I want to be just a little bit better. And it is awesome.
Done it faster too, so that's where I'm like, I knew it. Like you could easily get it done within like a 6 or 7 day mark if you wanted to try to do that. But that would be really pushing it for the sake
So where was your starting point on that?
So my starting point was the southern part of Wisconsin,
Okay.
pretty much into Illinois, and that was it. And so I ended up in Vermont the first night, and then the second I was down in Alabama, almost Florida, then over to like Kansas area, I believe, into Colorado, Nevada, up to Washington, and then Iowa, pretty much, I think. If I remember correctly. It all blurs together after a couple days. So
I could imagine.
Those are my days. And then I officially ended in Iowa. And then I had a full day to just get back to Wisconsin the next day.
What's one of your favorite memories from that trip?
I think I was out in like pretty much going straight north, Nevada up to through Washington. Like I wanted to do Lolo Pass, but I didn't get a chance to make it. But I was out there. It was early morning. The sun was rising. It had been about like in the 50s. It was beautiful, but I was the only one on the highway, and I was the only one for about like 2 or 3 hours with just like endless amount of like, I don't know, just mountains, like things that I'm not used to seeing out in Wisconsin. Like we get the Northwoods and all of that, but like just the vast openness of it all and just being the only one out there it was an awesome feeling. So like that's where, and then out in Washington, Oregon, I don't know how people pronounce it. I got people, I'm from Wisconsin.
No
I have a
worries.
Midwest accent. So it's heavy and strong. But I loved being out there, and I wish I had more time to just explore there because I've never been out to that coast.
There's some beautiful areas out here for sure. I mean, but I think, everybody, where we all live in different parts of the country and we all have those gorgeous areas, and we all want to try to find. And I think that's one of the great things about this podcast and doing this is meeting the other people and hearing their stories and their rides from their area. Because, we all enjoy where we live and we all have great scenery, and it's neat also. Then you hear like, yourself talking, you're out in the Northwest and you want to explore out here. Cause it was, it is a beautiful area too. And I know it's really neat stuff. Like, I enjoy to hear and share.
Different perspective, and so I love.
There you go.
And I want to ride that entire highway coast too. Eventually, that's on my list, especially after doing the
101 and the Pacific Coast Highway.
Yep, absolutely.
So, what do you think the mileage was on that Pan American doing that?
So it was an employee demo bike. It had about 200, less than 300 miles total on the bike before I picked it up. And when I brought it back to the service department in Milwaukee, it had just shy of 15,000 miles. And that was in less than 5 weeks, almost a full month. 15,000 miles.
Can you imagine the poor person that bought that bike?
I don't even know where it's at right now.
I won't get on that rant. But
when because I checked in with them in September, so I finished it in June, early July was my time frame for it because it was the longest time of like daylight for the year. But I checked in with them around August, September, almost October timeframe, and it was still sitting in service waiting for parts. So I don't know what it's at, but I keep searching Cycle Trader, like hoping to find some bike that has 16,000 miles on it, but who knows?
What was it getting roughly, do you think, for fuel mileage?
When I was out in the like Montana area, it was not up to what I had originally planned, but 250, I would kind of push that 300 limit, but 250 for sure was kind of my max for gas stops.
Wow, that's doing better than my Ultras. That's awesome.
I really dropped down under that 200 mark when I was out, like elevation wise and all of that. You could really tell I was pushing it a little, probably too hard, but yep. The gas station, I had every single gas station planned out. Like I knew which one I was going to be at. So when I was getting close to, I'm like, oh shoot, I need to fill up before I even get to that one. That's where it was kind of alarming. But yeah, 250 is what I maxed at.
Jeez.
I remember I was on a ride and I was doing that. I had, my gas stops mapped out on Google, and I pulled into one where I knew I was pushing the mileage, and I'd mapped everything on Google Maps. Come to find out, it was still under construction.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I ran out of gas on the highway on the freeway down by Idaho, Eastern Oregon, about 4 miles later.
That sucks. I had the hardest time finding air. Like I had a low air pressure in one of the tires too when I was out there, that I like every gas station that I would try to look at and find, I couldn't find a freaking spot. So I pulled into a business that some kind of construction or something like that. I was like, they've got all these trucks. Most likely they've got an air compressor or something like that they could fill up my tire. So that was interesting.
Hey, that's a good idea. That's always not a bad.
I was like, I gotta find something. I don't want to push it. It's not my bike, and I know corporate probably would not really like that if I didn't do that. So they were very, they were kind of like a little confused that I just pulled into the driveway and asked them for that, but they're fine.
Hey, it works.
Made their morning, right?
Yeah.
You are
Something
now a
different.
story. Someone has a story. You remember that time?
Yep.
That's too funny.
Mm-hmm. But I would love it. I would do it again in a heartbeat. I wish that the border was open so I could have finished and put Alaska on the map, because it's the only one that I do not have on my 50 states of riding a motorcycle in. It's still hanging out there, but I'll get there eventually.
So what's your next ride plan? You got another adventure you're thinking of for this summer?
So just in January over my birthday, I did the coast to coast one. That's my big one for this year. I have a lot more camping with the kiddos, more staying at home this time, which I'm forcing myself to do, which kind of sucks, but I'm sure there'll be something that'll come up that I can't say no to, because once I get started, it hasn't stopped. But I'm doing the Heart of Texas rally happening very shortly here. So that's at the end of April.
What'd you coming out of your time for the 50cc?
40 or pretty much 45 hours.
Dang.
Yeah. So El Segundo, California, all the way to Jacksonville Beach, Florida. El Segundo, California to Jacksonville Beach, Florida.
That would be fun to try.
I wouldn't do it in January though. Like at the end of January, it was not. It was 20. I got dropped down to 20 in Texas, and when I finished Jacksonville Beach, it was 21 degrees there. So I was like, this is not what I expected.
Nah, I think like June, July.
That'll probably be a better option, and I probably would enjoy it more. But it was very cold, very cold. I was thankful for rent. Like I had a dear friend rent me her heated gear, and I probably wouldn't have completed it without it, for sure.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you had heated gear, because that would be miserable.
I blew a fuse. So I rented through Eagle Rider. I had a Yamaha FJR 1300. So I didn't really read the instructions, probably should have, but I blew the fuse to just the phone charger because it was way more amperage than what it was putting out. And I had to, during the time that I was supposed to be resting, I had to pull apart the front panel, put the direct inputs for the heated gear into the battery, fix the fuse panels. Like if I had to put my hazards on, I didn't have that option anymore because I had to switch fuses. I learned so much about that bike that I just was not expecting to do. But yeah, it was an interesting start to that. But I'm glad I did what I did, because I wouldn't have been able to. I probably would have, but it would have been very cold and very
miserable.
You had taken out a lot of bikes, I know, when you had rented through Eagle Rider. If you were to do, that I guess answers the FTR, but if you were to look at another bike that you want to try for the kind of riding you do you have one in mind?
There's a handful. So I go off of what other long distance rally riders ride for their bikes. And so that Yamaha FJR was one, because Wendy has it and another friend of mine, they swear by it. But I learned that's not the bike for me. I would have done the Pan Am in a heartbeat before it. But I want to try the Goldwing. I really do. Just for the sake of crossing it off and making sure that's not one that's a potential. And then also the BMW GS line, anything like that. So yeah, there's a lot on my list, but I don't want to just go out and do a rental for 30 minutes or 20 minutes. I want to take it out for a full weekend, do a long distance ride on it like I did for the Yamaha FJR, even though it wasn't the most comfortable ride. I'm glad I did it, and I'm glad I learned about the bike, and it's not one of the contenders that I would consider as my long distance rally bike, but just to make sure.
Okay.
I know. But Yeah,
Just go to when they have the international motorcycle show. It's a 3-day event. Like, I'll take it out Friday and just bring it back Sunday. Like, I didn't know. I had no idea.
Why
I had no
does this
idea.
bike have 2,000 miles on it now?
Bring it back. I hate it.
It's yours. You can have it back. No.
Yeah, I took it 4 states over. I didn't really like it, so I came back.
By the way, your tires are shot.
Yeah.
That would be fantastic to do, but
no, you got a good point. I mean, instead of just like your test ride from a dealer, what you're gonna do, you're really gonna put the bike through its paces. You're gonna know how you like the handling, how it handles to your style of riding, and you're really gonna learn the comfort when you're going that far, as opposed to just a 30-minute test ride down the road.
And just completely stock too. There's nothing added bonus to it to help any comfort. So they are gonna learn yes or no. And that Pan Am was pretty much stock. I added some highway pegs on it, and I'm glad I did, but I could have done without even that sake. So yeah.
Well, plus I think you go on just doing the test ride, but you're doing this long distance. You're packing some gear, you're getting the bike weighted down, and you're getting into that bike's characteristics, I guess, in a way you could say. More is, how is this going to handle when I want to do some serious adventure riding? We're loaded down and packed up for a good time, and run it through his paces and see what you think of them. And, like you said, check them off the list.
Absolutely.
But you look at, the BMW, the Goldwing, I mean, they are tried and true, distance bikes, but everybody has their style. Everybody has what's going to fit them. And, just because it fits, Joe Blow doesn't mean it's going to fit you.
Nope, absolutely not. So to each its own, but I don't want to just write it off and do a 30-minute ride and be like, yep, this is it. Like, that's not how it's going to sell me on investing into the bike, because that bike will then have, like, if I can put it through that 200,000 miles or more, like, that's what I would plan on doing for that bike. So I want to make sure I'm getting the bike that I really want. Yeah.
Right. So when are you planning on adding another bike to the collection? About 2 years or so, maybe?
Whenever I can afford it. When the kids are not in daycare anymore, that would be great. Did my taxes, and I was like, dang, how much money did we spend? But eventually, yeah, within that 2-year mark, I would like to, because ideally in my goal setting that I have, the 2023 rally for the Iron Butt is happening, but I didn't enter in that one because I didn't have a bike that I was like comfortable. Like, I could have beefed up the Sporty and did something with it, but I'm not willing to invest in that much for that sake. So by the time 2025 Iron Butt Rally rolls around, you can bet your ass that I'm going to be putting my name in the hat for that one and hopefully being entered into that. So it gives me about a good 3 years to beef up my long distance resume even more, and right from there. So
I've read some of the stuff, the IBA Rally. That is a serious adventure.
Oh, so I am terrified beyond my measures, but it's something that I know I want to do because I want to see what I'm capable of for riding. It could be 1,000 miles for 11 days, or you get 11,000, 13,000 miles, I think was the guy that won this year, but 13,000 or last year with the rally, 13,000 miles in that 11-day mark. It's pretty incredible that they can do that. So.
Oh, it is. And then you look at Chris Hopper last year when he did the 100,000 in 100 days. I mean, that was amazing. And actually, Maddie goes, I really could have gone longer. He goes, but I know,
he had to go home. I think
his wife wanted him home.
His wife was telling him, okay, yeah. I think I enjoyed watching him every day.
Oh, that was an amazing, watching the spot wall and just following all along on Mile Monsters, and what he did was absolutely amazing. I mean, that whole foundation has grown, and it's super cool.
It's so fun. He gave me props too, and coming from him, he goes, because I think he's got the Pan Am, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he goes, I couldn't do the 48 and 10 on that bike. And I was like, but you just did 100,000 miles or what in that 100 days. Okay. But I kind of felt a little chip on my shoulder when it came from him for that. I'm like, okay, good. I feel like I'm getting to that level. I'm not quite there yet, but I need that time.
That is awesome.
Yeah,
I don't know. You've done some impressive rides. I mean, just the 48 and 8, it stands out huge because that's not easy by any means. I mean, none of these rides are easy for, just doing an Iron Butt. Some people there's no way it could ever be done.
And then
people just think it's too much.
24 hours. I think that's what Hopper tried to do too with I forget his name, but they tried to do the 1,500 each day for 10 days straight. And I think they almost got
Oh
to
yeah,
that.
him and
Like
Go
that
Home
15, yeah, the
Yep.
1500 is brutal. And like I
Yeah.
tried to do that within the 24-hour mark for my coast to coast. And it's hard. It's a hard deal to do. So I feel like that coast to coast ride was even harder than the 48 and 10, but because you're lower on your mileage and you have a little bit more leeway. So
Yeah, I think they were trying to do, was it the 1500, the Bun Burner 1500, 10 consecutive days?
Yep, because somebody had done and completed that. I don't remember when time frame, but they wanted to beat his time, but they ran into ice and snow, I believe. So
Well, I guess there's already somebody he hasn't set out, but there's a ride in the works to beat Chris's 100 and 100. Somebody's has got a plan in works. Yeah, because I believe he's been in contact with Chris, and he's like, he goes, awesome. He goes, I just hope, in the 100th day he gives me a call and I can go ride with him when he beats it.
That's fantastic. That's a good mindset.
Oh yeah. Which was cool because I think the other record was like 48. And I can't remember the guy's name, and he went and met up with him on that day, and they rode together for that day.
Oh,
which
cool.
that's just so cool. The camaraderie within
Absolutely.
the motorcycle community, the long, even the long distance riders, and it's awesome. It's a great community to be part of.
It's a different type of breed compared to just somebody out in the streets. You're riding for how long in a day? Like, I don't even do that in my car. And like, you find these people and you're instantly connected in one way. And like, even when you hit that like long distance part of it too, you're in even a more of a close knit type group, and you're like instant friendships.
I remember when I did I've done one, and I think I hit around the 750 mile mark, and I was coming down through the panhandle of Idaho. It was getting sunset, and it was just, the views were amazing. And you could, look down at my Google Maps I had going on my phone, and, the clock's going backwards. It's like, heck yeah, I'm, 200 miles out, and like 2.5 hours. And like, you get that second wind, and
you're ready.
I think the last 250 miles I enjoyed so much. It was just the adventure. Your heart's going, it's like, you know what, can accomplish this. And it was one of those goals I set out. It's like, I've always wanted to do it, but do I have it mentally and physically? Can I, complete this? And I can't wait to do another one. It was like,
this you can either go awesome. One way or the other way. There's people that will never do it again, but somehow they get wrapped into it and have to do it. Like, there's an individual that I follow. He goes, yeah, I did one and I was done, but one of my friends wanted to do another Iron Butt, and here I am again. Like, I'm doing the saddle store. So it's either you get roped into it or you're just completely obsessed and want to.
It is. It was, years ago, probably 7-8 years ago, I was talking to my dad. I know I've mentioned this one before. So, tell him, hey, I want to go do an Iron, but he's like, that is so stupid. And, he just, why would you want to do that? It's just too long, and just, ridiculing me. And it was 2-3 months later, I was up at Dad's house. We're working in the garage. He's like, hey, did you see my new license plate frame over there? I'm like, no, what are you talking about? Look at his bike. There's his IBA plate. I'm like, what the hell? Oh yeah. Me and so-and-so, a couple of us, we decided to go do an Iron Butt, last, or, I think it'd been 2 weeks prior. I'm like, you're a dick. You ridicule me. Oh, that's stupid. Why did you want to do it? And then he takes off. I'm like,
you said that's standard, though. That's what.
Oh yeah. So. He just had to get it first.
Yep.
Too funny.
Oh man.
But I know, like him, he's like, no, I won't do another one. He goes, but I did it once, and he goes, I can say I did it, and he goes, oh, I'm happy with it. He goes, we had a good time. He goes, but yeah, it's just not his style and not for him, which is true. It's, that style of riding and that distance isn't for everybody, but for those that like it, if you do one and if you enjoy it, you understand and you feel it, why it gets so addicting.
Absolutely. And I love it because it's more of like mental game than anything else. And like, I love the challenge of having to plan and create a route that you're comfortable with, that you can be able to do. And then whatever weather or other conditions get thrown your way too, and see what you're like capable of. For my 48 and 10, that second day, it was 10, 12 hours straight of just downpour torrential rain. It was very hard just to go through all of that and all the small states that I had to stop at. But then I hit 117 degree weather out in Needles, California, 2 or 3 days later. So it's crazy the type of, and I think even wildflowers out in Arizona. So all of these things that I just had never expected, just enjoying. Like, ideally I would love a perfect day to ride from sun up to sundown. Like that if I had the chance to do it right now, and someone gave me the option, like kids were taken care of, I would do it in a heartbeat without anything. But just to see the type of weather and what you're built and what you're mentally able to overcome, I get addicted just to that part of it, to see, okay, what else can I do? What else can I push myself for?
Now, what like mapping program do you just mainly use, like Google Maps when you're studying and looking at everything?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Google is my friend for that sake. So I had it down to every single gas station, and then I planned it out. Like I had such and such time to stay at that gas station. I had to be at the next one at this certain time. So like it was more for my sake. So I knew exactly when to expect and what to stay on track. And if I was ahead of, great. And if I was behind, well, that's where the anxiety kind of built up. But at least for my sake, I knew. And then also for Harley Corporate, like I could share them, like, this is my route. This is planned out to a T, and they could see my spot wall route of where it was too. So yeah, I don't want to say a like type A, but when it comes to that, like you gotta be, because it gives you peace of mind. It gives your, like, at least my family a peace of mind too, that they know everything is all planned out. So yeah.
How much time do you think you spent probably planning that, going over all the maps? I spent hours and hours just planning 1,000-mile road. I can't imagine doing the whole United States trying to figure everything out.
The idea came to me in January of 2021, and I had pretty much a route planned out, but not a bike. But I needed a bike to know like my mileage and where, like, officially kind of lay things out. And that didn't officially kind of come to fruition until about March, April. So I had about a couple months to really sit on it. And it was almost too much time, because then you start second guessing yourself. You're like, oh shoot, is there an easier way to go through this way to avoid traffic? And freaking New York City probably would have been better than anything. But like those things, it's almost, you could start rethinking your route, and you just kind of have to ride what you had planned out. So
yeah.
Did you reach out to like any of the other long distance riders for advice, or anybody that done it before? Did you just kind of say, I'm just going to do this my way and go?
She didn't reach out to me. That's all.
She's
like, I heard you crush it to Starbucks in the morning. I'm like, I don't want to brag, but
yes, there was one individual that she had done it last year. But as far as like, I felt more, I don't want to say like, because I didn't really know too many from the male side of it. But as far as female ones, like I knew there was one individual that had shared on the Iron Butt Association that she had done it. So I reached out to her, but also just like kind of creating my own route. Like I based it off of some things from Google and what the Iron Butt people had shared from when they had completed it. But I just went off of my gut and planned it out that way. So it was more of a verification, like, oh, yep, all right, this might be the best option, or this might be the best way. Or I did things a little bit differently too, because some could start on one end and end at the completely other end of the country, but still have to go back. I wanted to do a full loop so that I had extra, like, that time, but also I wasn't too far away from my family as well. So yeah. But we're looking at the Iron Butt Association records. They don't say whether they're male or female, but there's only been 15 up until the point of when I completed it, 15, 16 females that have actually done the ride themselves. After I had done mine, within, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks, I wish I would have known that these individuals were doing it. But there's a group, I believe, out in Florida area, I could be wrong, about 16 females that actually did the 48 states in 10 days. They did it more of like the Bessie Stringfield ride. So there's 16 women that all rode the 48 states, and like they did them in groups. I think there was like four or six individuals that rode and did the whole 48 states in 10 days. And I would have loved to be with them to ride that. They just did the ride around Texas too. So I was like, I
just read about that when I saw that, I think this morning. Yeah, they did the rat. I think 3 days.
Yeah. So those individuals did the 48 states in 10 days. I think they did it in not 8 or 9 as well, but just about a week or 2 after I'd completed mine, which is so cool to almost like double the numbers for females to go. So when you look into that 48 and 10 list, you're going to see them all listed.
That's awesome.
Super cool. Yeah. It gets me excited because that makes me happy.
So how'd you get the deal with Harley when you were able to get the Pan American?
So it was thankfully to social media, I connected with one of the PR
Sweet.
individuals, and I, being from Wisconsin and being down at the museum and corporate, there's a lot of context down there. So that's where I think it was in my benefit to be in Wisconsin to be able to
Nice.
do this. But timing wise, they were releasing the bike pretty much right around the same time frame as when I was going to start my route. So it was almost like a perfect fit. It felt like I could have taken any other bike, but with this being a completely new bike, and I get that it's more dirt oriented, but just to say you can push it to the limits as far as highway mileage and riding for that long, it has another step up to the bike. So yeah, it just worked out well, very well.
Wait, it's an adventure bike, and you took it on one hell of an adventure.
Yep, but it was strictly all highway riding. There wasn't a speck of dirt unless I was in a really put on gas station, which kind of sucks. Like I wish I would have had the opportunity to, but contract wise, like that's where I didn't have the wheels, or the tires for it. So yeah, just let it as is.
Well, that's a big risk too for them, because that was at that point really an untested bike.
Yeah, and a very hard to come by bike too. It was very limited as far as what they had for like demo rides and all of that. So I was thankful that they were able to provide one for me for.
Now, let's say in the hypothetical, if they came out with a smaller one, would you want that, or would you want the size you had?
I'd have to try it to really know. But there's parts of it, yes. Like I wish I could have like a full fairing and like not be as like thrown around by 40-mile-an-hour winds and semis. Like it, but I'm used to that riding my sporty anyway, so I don't think twice about it. But there's certain things that I would like, but would like to change too. So yeah.
Yeah, because from what I had a KLR 650 with the panniers and the top box, and it was great because it was a great bike, but it was a one-up bike. But once you go into that 1200 size with a bike that big, it just seems like you could do anything, and it's so tempting. It's like, I could do anything with this.
I know, that's where as much as I would love that to be like my second bike as an option for just straight rallying, is like I want something that I can cart the kiddos on in the back and bring them to school, and like putting them on the Pan Am would be like, please don't have any squirrel moments and they'd be falling off the side. Like I don't even know if I would want to ride 2 up with my husband on it. Like it's probably a possibility, but that's just strictly that would be a rally bike for me for sure. I would put the miles on.
Now, do you make the husband ride on back now? Do you just throw him on the back?
This is one thing that's like has been set in stone that he will not, like he won't ride on the back. Like it's not happening. It's not happening at all. Like even if and whenever I get a touring style bike, like he will be in the front seat, like, or in the front. Maybe I can like kind of into it. Like we went to Universal Studios and we did the Hagrid's ride, the motorcycle ride. So I was like, nope, I'm riding, you're riding in a sidecar. Like this is it. And I was just bound and determined. So maybe I'll get him on the back of it eventually, but it will be very hard to do that. To talk about.
You have to somehow like hide a GoPro in your hair back there, so the lens just peeks out, so you get footage of him on the back.
I had to get the photo of the Hagrid's ride too, because someone was like, "He's in the sidecar." I need proof of this. I'm like, at least there's something that I have that I just be like, "See, you've done this. Like, it would be just fine for you riding on the back." But yeah, I don't know. That's just one non-negotiable for his sake. So yeah,
that's really funny.
So what do you think your dream ride would be, whether if you want to include, the motorcycle or destination?
Oh, I would go the entire country. Like if I could ride from like start here and somehow go all the way through every single country, or somehow make it work and go around the world, that would be incredible to do. I would love that. But that wasn't even an option in 2020 or barely 2021. So eventually I'll get to that point that maybe things will open up in a way that I could be able to do it. But that would be kind of a lifelong dream for sure. If not, I'll just continue to ride all of the United States into Canada and Mexico and go even further if I can. So yeah.
I would like to get up to Canada, to Banff. Just, I mean, with all of us, social media, see all the pictures, but it's never the same as seeing it through your eyes. But man, it just looks Freaking
It looks
gorgeous up
incredible.
there.
It looks incredible. I know. And same with Alaska too. Like I need a full like week just to go explore up there too. Like there's so much.
That'd be so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
It would be.
Yep. Sign me up. I just need the days off and the kids taken care of, and I will be gone in a heartbeat.
If anybody wants to send a free bike, please do so.
Yeah. So what do you think's the worst experience you've had riding on two wheels?
Oh, that 50cc coast to coast. Like I pushed myself way too far into being overtired and not really having the greatest start to it, and then trying to ride 1,500 miles in 24 hours. I could have made it, but I got to that last hour or two, and I was going off of, I don't even know how long, like, of sleep, that I couldn't function. I needed to stop. I needed to stop at gas stations and get like 5 or 10 minutes of sleep. So like the struggle of like being safety, like being capable of riding, but not pushing yourself so far that you don't even remember the last 30, 40 miles that you just did. So like that was very hard. And then you add the coldness to it, and a bike that just wasn't fit for me. That was one of the hardest things. And it put me in a lot of like a mental space that I just wasn't used to, but I'm glad that I was able to understand that I don't want to get to that point again ever, but I know where my limits kind of stand as far as it goes. But you push almost too far and you're risking a lot of other crazy things. So.
Well, so let's say for the average person, right, that wants to try long distance riding, and I'll put it in the context of maybe perhaps not your long distance riding, but what would be a good goal for them to set out?
I'd say like, so whatever you're comfortable with, put like at the next like 30 minutes or 30 miles or whatever that marker is. Like just go outside of that boundary and then go even farther. So like I did a lot of rustic roads here in Wisconsin. They're these gravel off the beaten track ones, but they're all throughout the state. So I would take a full day and just keep riding, and realize that I was pretty much in the Northwoods by the afternoon. I was like, oh shoot, I gotta get back home to the kids. Like I only have a certain time frame. So knowing like your limits of where you're comfortable with, and kind of just pushing it just a little bit farther out of that range. And that's where you kind of don't know until you try, almost. So
sure.
Yeah.
It's a good point.
It's hard to say because you can't really put it into numbers, because every person has their own max out. But if you want to see if you can something you're interested in, just take it a little step further.
Yeah, the reason I ask is because just to that, like I've not quite close to doing 100, 1,000 in a day, but I find that everyone thinks that, oh, you have to do that for that milestone, and I get it, I totally get it, but I was just curious, like what the advice you'd give to somebody that wants to even start, And that's a good advice. Take what you've done the max and push it a little bit further, but don't kill yourself, because we all know you just need one squirrel moment and it's all over.
Or you jump into it, because like I second guessed myself as far as this 48 and 10. Like I only did the Saddle Sore 1000. That was it. That's all I had under my belt. And so there was people second guessing, like, you should do something smaller. Like this is not something you should consider right now. But I was like, I asked, Wendy was the person that I reached out to, and I was like, don't get it in your mind. If like you think you're capable of doing the 48 and 10, do it. Like there's nothing else stopping you or shouldn't stop you from doing that. So if you feel like you're capable of doing that 1,000 miles and you want to try to do it, like go out and do it. Think you can do more? Go and do more. Like, it's possible. It's possible. There's a lot of people that have done crazier mileage in a day's mark. So yeah.
So what's your favorite piece of gear that you take with you, or something you've got for riding that just always goes with you?
My go-to is, so I've tried so many two-piece Gore-Tex suits. Like if I'm going out riding and I don't know what to expect and I'm in different parts of the country, I have a one-piece Gore-Tex climb suit that's super comfortable. It's kind of like just beefy and boxy, but like it is what it is. But like it went through the 117-degree weather. I was hot. Like it was not the best, but it is what it is. But it kept me completely dry for the 12 hours I got downpoured rain on and everything else like that. It was my go-to for the coast to coast in January in the winter time frame when I had the heated gear on underneath. Like if I know that I'm not going to get completely soaked to the bone, that's my one piece that would probably go with me. It's very big, and like it would take up an entire checked bag, and that's pretty much what will be in my checked bag for the Heart of Texas rally. But that's my go-to is anything Gore-Tex. So gloves, boots, and my whole one-piece climb suit. So yeah.
I've noticed a lot of people going to the climb gear now. I noticed a lot more, you see, the jackets and everything, and I haven't tried them yet, or I don't even know if I've seen stuff around here in the Northwest of theirs, but I've been noticing a lot more people using it.
Yeah. I have the Revit as well. So when Harley and Revit did the collaboration for the Pan Am and for the adventure gear, I was gifted the jacket by corporate, but I also found the pants as well. But the thing with that one is it's not 100% Gore-Tex on the outside. Like you have to wear rain liner on the inside of your jacket. So if it's raining, you have to take the jacket off, put the rain liner on, then put the jacket. So like not having to even think about that. And if the weather hits, like, all right, let's just keep riding. So yeah, that's the part where it kind of sold me on, is that I don't have to do anything. Like I can just keep riding and it won't concern me at all. So
there's a Harley joke in there that they sent you the jacket, not the pants. Even they're clear, they can't send you the whole package. You got to build it out. Come on, people.
I found it though at a dealership. It was like on clearance, like 70% off, and it was like, I gotta get this because
hell yeah, for that price
now for that. But yeah.
That's funny.
But I know Revit stuff is really great too. It just depends on the fit and style. If it's more European style, so you're either gonna fit it or you're not. But that climb one it's a men's, like, or kind of unisex. I was going to look at Arrow Stitch. Like a lot of long distance riders ride with Arrow Stitch is up in Duluth, Minnesota. But the timing, because of everything in 2021, they weren't able to get the type of like the look of the suit that I wanted to within the mark before my 48 and 10. So I couldn't go that direction, and Climb had one already available. But I know that theirs is Gore-Tex outline as well, and people
nice
buy that. And yeah, so eventually I'll look into it, but I've got quite the investment into that climb suit. I'm getting my money's worth out of it. So
oh, there you go. Hey, you got one that works, so you know what? It's comfortable, you like it, so go with it.
Yep, it's got all the armor in the shoulders, back, elbows, knees, the whole 9 yards. So that's awesome.
I still have the old Joe Rocket, the ballistic 4.0 touring coat and the pants. I think I've had those now for, actually, when I went on my first trip, so that was 2000. So I've had it for 21 years. It is getting quite faded, sun bleached, the black. It's got that red tint to it, but yeah. But no, it's been a great coat. I can't complain. I mean, I've got my use out of it well beyond what I thought I would.
For sure. But for long distance, like that's my go-to. If I'm going to ride anything longer than a day trip for 500 miles or something, like that's what I'll be riding in. Yep.
Interesting.
So if you could give one piece of advice to somebody that's wanting to get into, adventure riding and doing, the distance like, you enjoy, what would be, your one piece of advice for somebody new that wants to jump into pushing themselves farther?
Take a full weekend and try. Like I gave myself a 2-day buffer for my first saddle sore. Like I knew the kids were taken care of. Everything was crossed off the list. So like I didn't have anything else to do. So if you've got the time to do it and you've got the opportunity, even if it's just one weekend, because it doesn't have to be multiple days. Like I had that 2 days and that was it. So if you go out and try and see if it's something you can do, I'd say the sooner the better, because you're going to either know one way or the other way if you're going to like it. But yeah.
Right. Awesome.
Don't second guess yourself. Just do it. That's what I would say.
There you go.
Yeah.
And it is. It's fun to see, it's like I said, don't second guess yourself. If you can try, then try it. You're going to find out.
Really?
Yeah. Say, okay, well, you know what? I've had enough. It's just not my thing. Or you're going to get there and say, man, this was awesome.
Yep. And even if it doesn't work out, take the day and take the afternoon and then enjoy the ride back, because you have a full other day to.
Very true. That's a, very good aspect when you look, especially if you got the weekend, 2 days, and either have fun, either way, have fun, I guess.
You will. Yeah.
Right. Sure. Well, thanks so much for coming on. This has been a blast. I mean, I've been looking forward to this, and it's a lot of fun hearing, these type of adventures when you look at, the stuff you've done, and just being able to share these adventures with more people and share your story.
Absolutely. That's kind of why it's more of sharing and keeping from my sake, like for my social media, my YouTube channel, like just to have something to look back on and remember, but also just to share inspiration for others that are looking to get into the sport too. Because it's only been about 2 years for me, and I wish I would have done it like right when we started, got on the bike. Like it would be crazy to see where I'd be at now compared to then. But at least it started.
There you go. So go ahead and let everybody know where they can follow your adventures, and go ahead and plug your channels.
So Whit Meza on Instagram, and the same for YouTube. So pretty easy, just the 2 channels. I've been kind of took a back burner on the YouTube thing for a little bit, but I've got so much in the works just sitting on my hard drive that I need to edit. I'd rather be doing this than anything else. So there's that.
But
eventually I'll get there.
Yeah. Thank you so much for, taking time. I know you got your little ones are out there playing, trying to be good and whatnot, but thank you very much for taking time out of your night. And also, like we said earlier, thank your husband from us for his service to our country.
Absolutely.
Thank you for being a positive role model. I mean, you've set the bar for positivity.
Perfect. That's what I need.
And I appreciate you don't, shaming me when I ride to Starbucks,
So
I'd go for donuts every day if I could.
Have fun, guys. Ride
Thanks
safe,
so much,
and everybody enjoy the open road.
Absolutely.
See ya.